I am that I am. That I am that I am. The incomparable, irreverent, unholy but whole Adamus Saint Germain. Woe to those who did not get my message that we would start early today. Shambra, Shambra, Shambra. I sent it, you felt it, and you pretended that you didn't hear it. Today, we're going to talk about feelings. We're going to talk about acting on what you already know, acting on your feelings. We sent out the call that this shout would come early today for a variety of reasons, which I'll explain in just a moment. But before I do, I want to wish very happy birthday greetings to Linda, who comes from Isa. Dear Linda, such a delight to see you shining, radiant, and so jet-lagged. The lovely thing about you and jet lag is that you get into your heart, you get out of your head. You allow your true royal self to shine through when this happens. So, indeed, happy birthday and many changes to you. So, dear Shambra, I called this gathering of Shambra early today for a variety of reasons. I was in the middle of doing some extensive work with some scientists on two of my favorite topics. One is new energy, yes, primarily through water. There are some groups of scientists and some individuals right now who are coming very, very close to understanding what water truly is, beyond the molecules and the atoms and even some of the subatomic features. For this holds the answer to so many of the old energy questions on Earth. And I'm not just talking about fuel. I'm talking about consciousness. You see, they are tied together so very closely. I'm going to say that it will be within your lifetime that you see this grand revelation of the true capability of water and consciousness. What can really be accomplished. It will shake up all of the current old energy systems and structures, but I know you're going to hoot and holler to see it come down. It's going to shake up the way so many things are done on Earth right now. That is why you are seeing a very rapid transition in financial systems, even in politics, and so many of the old ways things have been done. Shambra, your pioneer work into consciousness is helping to make this possible. Whether you know it or not, your consciousness work is providing what you could say the energy or the essence for these scientists and researchers who don't understand so many of the things that you feel and understand. So together and working with you and these researchers, this new energy source is soon to be brought forth. There was another group I've been working with very closely. This is a group of scientists who are working with the rejuvenation, particularly of the physical body, the physical organs. They're working right now, oddly enough, with this thing you called stem cell research. And they're working primarily with the body's ability to regenerate hair. They're working with one of the vanity issues that so many men in particular have, the issue of the hair falling out. But as a result of this research, we're going to discover at a very, very simple but deep level how the body is able to regenerate itself. Again, this requires a combination of consciousness energy as well as good scientific research, but research that goes beyond. I'm also going to be actively involved in the marketing of this product when it comes out for hair regrowth for men. I'm suggesting they call it Adamas. For the man who wants to be a man again. But my work with these two groups was interrupted. Because of a situation right now that is taking place in the world. I have to say that it is in the Middle East, and fairly safe to say that there's a situation where all hell could be breaking loose in these next 4 to 5 days. There's so many old tensions that are now coming to the surface. We're talking about tensions in the earth as well as tensions with the humans. This is what I would call a type of pre-Easter type of energy coming up, but it's bringing up a tremendous amount of old anger, old resentment, and especially hanging on to old energy. This has come to the surface, not to blame it on Shambra at all, but just recently after the gathering of Shambra in Israel. I've been working with Shambra, with several other spiritual groups in this land of the Mideast to try to allow potentials of new resolutions to come to this very volatile situation that is taking place right now. I have to say here that, first of all, for Shambra who are from Israel listening to this, that's why you have been feeling the way you have been feeling, especially in this past 2 weeks. You're feeling this tremendous tension and conflict coming to the surface. Many of you are working with me right now and helping to bring forth a potential of clear resolution without having to go through all of the human suffering and the wars and the killing. There's a very clear difference between trying to inflict your own desires or trying to inflict your own thoughts into that situation. Just stand back for a moment. Here's a very volatile situation of human consciousness in the Mideast. There are ages and ages of old layers, particularly religious layers and power layers that are in this region. So you don't want to try to inflict your own personal will and desire, even the desire for what you would call peace, or for one side to dominate over the other, or anything like that, because you're simply adding your energy, a charged energy, to a very volatile situation. What you do is you bring out and expand the potential for resolution. Then the leaders and the warriors, and the people who live in these regions can receive those potentials if they so choose. You are allowing a higher consciousness potential to be there for them. It's actually up to them if they want to pick the old warrior ways, the old suffering ways, if they want to go backwards in consciousness, or to help select a higher consciousness way of doing things. So for all of you, Shambra, whether you're in the lands of Israel and the surrounding countries, or if you're sitting here today, take a deep breath. Take a moment to feel the energy of higher consciousness resolution. Expand that. Expand it. Don't push it. Don't force it on anyone. Don't try to manipulate anyone else's mind or body. This is not about psychic control. This is about a new and higher potential. It's a very simple thing, actually. You should relate to it. sometimes humans just don't understand that there can be a higher way. They get so stuck in their old beliefs, in their old level of solutions, that they can't possibly imagine that there can be a new and higher consciousness way of doing things. But along comes this little bubble of potential that you and other Shambhala have sent out to anyone who wants to receive it. And it floats right into them. Some of them are going to get one of those aha moments. Others it will pass right through because they're so stuck in their ways. But some, perhaps a leader, perhaps a general in the army, perhaps a terrorist who right about now, literally, is about to lob a rocket, gets that bubble of potential that there is a new and different way, and stops for a moment to reconsider. Instead of lobbing that rocket, goes off by him or herself to commune with their spirit and eventually their selves. So you see, the work of the masters that you are is not only with your own higher level of consciousness, but helping to share that with those in the world who are ready. So we've called this meeting early today because, as usual, I'm quite busy. I have to get back to my work. Tobias, you say, where is Tobias? Tobias had to take a bit of a vacation after all that intensive work in the Netherlands. He's also preparing for his upcoming Passion School in the land of Spain, one of my favorite places. And I, Dhamma Saint Germain, am going to be the one guiding the channeling workshop. So woe to those who have signed up. Tobias actually is working right now with a group from the Crimson Council that go out on occasion and take a measurement of human consciousness on Earth. It's very interesting to note that human consciousness is at an all-time high. We use a benchmark on our side, a benchmark from 2,000 years ago at a major time of change. And that benchmark we simply call 1, the number 1. That is when we, in modern times, began measuring. As you could imagine, 2,000 years ago, consciousness was quite low. If you could look into the minds and the hearts of humans, the thoughts were quite crude. They were very undimensional, so to speak. Very difficult to comprehend anything beyond the land underneath their feet and the meal in front of their face. So we use that as a 1. So in the last time a measurement was taken, approximately 7 months ago, the measurement was, you could say, well over 2,000. So it is it is a huge jump, a quantum leap in the consciousness of Earth compared to 2,000 years ago. You could almost say consciousness has increased 2,000-fold since then. This change, this rapid change in worldwide consciousness is leading to all sorts of things. As a discussion had taken place earlier today, it is making things come up from the surface right now. Whether it is things that were literally hidden in the caves, under the land, or in the sea. It is also making lies come to the surface. Old lies that were told by, well, I won't name that church, Catholic, but these things are coming to the surface right now, and even very contemporary things in business and politics and psychology, all of these areas, all of this is coming to the surface right now because consciousness is at such a high level. So Tobias and some of the other beings from the council are out taking a very, what we would call angelically scientific measurement of Earth's consciousness right now. And I know Tobias would love to talk to you more about that the next time he's back for a shout. So that is the reason why I'm here. That is the reason why I'm in quite a hurry today. And I have a question to you before we start with this shout. Do you want it the easy way? Or do you want it the hard way? Now, I hear what you say, the easy way, which means we'll make it short and simple, but there's always one in the crowd that wants it the hard way. Always one. I want to stop for a moment and address that voice that came out. Why is it that you want it the hard way? Do you need things to be difficult in your life in order to remember that you're alive? Do you need things to be difficult to feel that you're suffered? Do you like the challenge? Do you like walking through life backwards on a bed of nails? We wonder about sometimes these sickos that are in the group that want it the difficult way. The easy way to them sounds so, what you would say, pedestrian, easy. So they want it the difficult way. You don't get extra badges or awards or cookies or anything for taking it the hard way. Let's take a deep breath. We're going to see you after school today. For the rest of you, let's do it the easy way. Let's take a deep breath together. Let's begin with that breath of receiving. The breath of receiving. Breath of receiving is something that I encourage all of you to do the first thing in the morning and the last thing of the day. It's one of the easiest things that you will do. The breath of receiving is not forced. It is a choice. The moment you take that breath of receiving, you open yourself to all the gifts that the physical earth, the physical universe, the heavens, and all of the dimensions have to offer. When you take that breath of receiving, it opens all of the pathways and all of the corridors so that the energies, the consciousness, and then all of the specific aspects, all of the specific elements can come in to serve you. It should be no struggle at all. It should be one simple, conscious breath, or many if you choose. You don't have to beg for it. You don't have to worry about your technique. It should come from the heart. The moment you take that breath of receiving, an amazing process starts. The process starts at a high consciousness level, a multidimensional, interpersonal level. It begins opening you up. It is done in the form of consciousness, which is perhaps the highest form of anything. And again, remember, consciousness itself is not energy. Consciousness works with energy. Consciousness is the master of energy. Consciousness helps to stimulate energy, which has been resting in a neutral state, waiting for its orders. When you take that breath of receiving, it activates. It activates all of the energies. And it works its way from consciousness into what you might call electrum. Energy that can then finally be brought also from the crystalline states. Crystalline states are the idea states, activated by the choice of receiving. So it comes from consciousness through crystalline, through electrum, and then into the material, into your known reality. It makes its way, if you choose, through the breath, very simply and very efficiently into your life. And then there's very little that you need to do. Some of you have, water please, some of you have been, you were feeling that I was going to ask for that.
Yes, sir.
So, some of you have been experiencing this. The less you push, the more things happen. The less you worry about things and trying to force them, the easier it gets. The less you battle with things, the smoother your life goes. The less you try to do those little old hocus-pocus things like imagination and mantras and verbalizations and mind games, the easier things become. You could simply make choices in your life. You could enjoy your life and watch how everything comes to you. It manifests. This is not what you would call a theory. This is the way that consciousness and energy work. They've always worked this way, and they will always work this way. Consciousness is divine. Divine is the master, and the master sums up all of the energies to serve it. You are consciousness. You are the master. You take that breath of receiving. Let's do it again, the conscious breath of receiving. Now, here's where you run into trouble. Your mind jumps in and tries to start formulating, tries to start controlling, tries to start saying, but am I doing this right? Am I bringing in the energy from the crystalline through the electrum into the material in the proper way? Let go of that. It's all natural. The moment the mind game starts, it changes the whole dynamic of your original choice. It confuses that higher level choice and basically blocks it out of your reality here in this third dimension. Because you could say in a way your spirit loves you enough that it will let you play any game that you want. If you want to play mind games, if you want to block out the easy natural energies, it will let you do so. The divine, your divine, will always have compassion and honor for your human. So we'll let the human play the games until the human gets tired and makes a clear choice to stop playing the games. To let this natural consciousness and energetic process take place. To just be. To just be. After you make the conscious choice to receive, go about what you enjoy doing in your life. Take a walk. I would not necessarily suggesting sitting in front of your television, but take a walk. Take a drive. Something, ride your Harley. Something that you enjoy. And then watch how things synchronistically just start happening in your life. Now, when the synchronicity occurs, when all of these things start coming in, yes, there'll come a point where you, as the human aspect of yourself, will want to then take action, play, work with those energies, bring it into creation. But you're going to find that it's actually quite easy. If any of you are having difficulties in your life right now, one of two reasons. You're letting other people around you basically control your consciousness. You're giving in to them, or you're not letting the energies work for you because you still think you have to do it the difficult way. I can understand that to a very small degree because you have eons of patterns of doing it the difficult way. Give yourself the opportunity to do it the easy way, to stop the struggling. And I can hear some of your minds right now. Oh, but Adamus, you don't understand. No, I do understand. You're playing a game. You're being a schmuck. You like the game. But I'm different. And well, yes, you are, but you are playing a game. Give yourself an opportunity to allow energies to serve you naturally and easily. Don't be that voice and that hand that raises to say, yes, let's do it the difficult way today. There's no need for it and no reason for it. Let us take another breath of receiving, but this time the easy breath of receiving. Let it flow straight into this reality. And yes, by the way, you are worthy. You are worthy. Let it flow straight in. Indeed. Now let's talk about today's topic. We will also see you after school. I'm very good at automotive malfunctions, if you know what I mean. Water? It was easier in Israel than it is here. This is a tough audience. Let's talk about a subject that Tobias has been discussing with you quite a bit lately. This is a key tool or key ingredient to everything that happens to you from now on. It's one of the main ingredients that Tobias and poor, sad Katumi are going to be talking to you about. Katumi is so upset, wondering about Shambra. Nobody has signed up for his cow dung weekend workshop in Ohio in March. We wonder what went wrong, Katumi. So, Katumi said he's going to get me back for that. We've been talking about feelings. Feelings. Now, perhaps that's not quite the right word, because there is a different word, an old Lemurian word, that is basically combines the words feeling and consciousness and awareness and sensitivity. Consciousness, awareness, sensitivity, feelings. Feel the essence of those words. Consciousness, awareness, sensitivity, and feelings. And that's basically what you are. The old Lemurian word for this was you. And actually, perhaps a more accurate description when using this word to refer to this particular element of consciousness and feeling was Nhahyu. Nhahyu. Perhaps to some of you that sounds familiar. Nhahyu basically combines these English words together. It means feelings and awareness, perception, sensitivity. We've been talking to you about this lately because it is a very, very important subject. You are Nhahyu, feelings. And you are receiving, you are getting all these feelings right now, all this Nhahyu in your life. You've been resisting the Nhahyu, resisting the feeling and the awareness of consciousness all around you. You've been holding it off because basically the human aspect of you is afraid that if you dive deep into outside feelings, other people's feelings, feelings around the world or feelings of Gaia, that you will lose your identity when you take that deep dive. So today I want to talk to you about the Nhahyu blossom, the opening up of that part of you. You've opened up a few layers of feelings, but now it's time we really go for it. Because feelings are where it's at. The mind is old news. The mind is tired and worn out, and you know it. The mind has been overworked, overused, and over-empowered. But Nhahyu, feelings are what it's all about. I'm going to ask you to, in this safe space that we've created together, to allow yourself to dive deep into the examples, the actual, real life, real examples that I'm going to bring forth to you today. Let yourself dive in so deep that you can forget about yourself, because that self that holds back is the human aspect that is afraid that it's going to forget itself, but you can't. Even if you dive so deep into feelings that you forget about that human aspect of you, you've always got the I am, your I am. Call it your soul, your divine, your presence. I call it the I am. You can dive so deep into feelings, just like you would dive into a bottomless ocean and feel everything around you and even inside of you. Let it permeate your consciousness. And at any moment, if you feel lost, you feel overwhelmed, or you feel that you're being totally consumed by the energies, all you have to do, quite simply, is remind yourself, I am that I am. You are the beginning and the end, and no one can ever take that away from you. Now, some of you go into a bit of panic here because, well, quite frankly, you have been subjects of psychic, dark magic, or mystical control in the past. But I also remind you, if you have been abused by any of these dark energies, whether it is in a past lifetime on earth or in the other realms, that you have also been the one using these very same games. Consciousness is an amazing thing. It goes both ways, always. If you send out what you would call a consciousness probe to another person, not necessarily trying to interfere with them, but just feeling their energy, it immediately allows you to feel them, but it also is a two-way street. They are going to feel you if they are aware. This is the whole way Nhahyu works. So some of you get a bit sweaty, a bit nervous when we say dive in, because you played these dark magic games in the past. You've played with them, you've been abused by them, and you know what it's like to get caught in that consciousness prison. You know what it's like to dive in so deep. But in the past, others have controlled you. Sometimes not just one lifetime, but across lifetimes. Even in the other realms, they've controlled you psychically. So you say, I'm afraid to dive in because I don't want another being coming along and controlling me. I'm afraid to dive in because I don't want to lose this human aspect. But dear friends, going forward, you're going to need Nhahyu. You're going to need feeling, awareness, sensitivity, and you're going to need discernment. We've talked about this before. What is you and what is outside of you? The more you work with Nhahyu, the energy of consciousness and awareness, the more easily you'll be able to discern what is you and what is not. I'm going to provide you with several examples today. I'm going to ask you to dive in, to feel, to be aware. Every example that I'm going to give has numerous layers or levels of energy, not just one particular energy, but many. I want to invite you to feel or embrace as many levels or layers of energy as you want. Some of these are not going to feel good. Some will have both good feeling and bad. Sometimes when you dive deep into Nhahyu, your physical body, if it is not properly conditioned, is going to get very nauseous. Let it get nauseous. The worst thing that you're going to do is exude something from one of your orifices. That is all right. You will most likely live. The important thing here is to not let these other parts, the body or the mind, start controlling your ability for Nhahyu, for feeling. So let us take a deep breath together. And let me address those who say they don't feel. Obviously, you're lying to yourself. Obviously, you're such a good and person when it comes to sensitivity that you've created blocks. You've told yourself you don't feel, but you actually do. You know, right when you start getting to feeling, when you go beyond the mind and you get to feeling, you run. You go the other way. You pretend that you're not going to feel, and you know that feeling. You know it is sometimes a very sick or perhaps a little bit disoriented feeling as you allow yourself to blossom the Nhahyu or open your feelings. You get this kind of disoriented feeling because the mind is no longer controlling. You're opening to much higher levels of yourself. But then you panic, you close the door, and you run back to your mind. Your mind is a comfortable little thing. Provides you with a kind of an odd type of refuge from yourself. Very odd indeed. Very, very odd. I have a hard time understanding humans, as dear Linda does also. Very, very odd. So let us take the first breath. And I'm going to begin with gently. And then we're going to get into the more intensive. Take a deep breath and dive into or feel or allow the blossoming of the Nhahyu here into a terrorist group in Indonesia. It is very real. I'm not making this up. Feel. Let yourself totally go into them. Now, your mind is probably clicking away here, trying to count how many they are and their location and what they're doing. And just keep breathing. It's all right if the mind is trying to decipher, but the important thing here is to dive into the feelings. This group that's sitting around right now, this terrorist group, feel deep into their consciousness. You're not intruding here because you're not trying to change them. You're not trying to manipulate. Feel their motivations. Your stomach right now, right about here, should have a little bit of pressure. Let yourself dive way deep. Don't hold back anything that's you're feeling. Don't double or second guess yourself. Now, here you are, surrounded by all this energy and consciousness and feeling. I know almost all of you are holding back to a degree. You're kind of holding on to a type of what you call a safety line, just in case you think I'm pulling a prank on you here. But at least you're allowing some feeling. But some of you now are feeling like you are coated with the feeling, this energy or consciousness. Feeling like it's going to get all over you. Just like you would getting pollen all over you if you ran through a field in the springtime. You worry that you're going to get this dirty energy, terrorist energy all over you. Take a deep breath. And remember, any time you come back to yourself with the I am that I am. Take a deep breath. I am that I am. As you have allowed yourself to feel at a deep level, fairly deep, and the moment you return to the I am that I am, all of that consciousness and its energy now goes away. You'll have a memory of the feeling, but that consciousness, or their energy, is no longer inside of you. This is a very important point. You've avoided diving in because you're afraid that you're going to pick up everybody else's vibrations and resonance and consciousness. You've isolated yourself, held back. To release, to let go of their energy, it's as simple as saying, I am that I am. You return back to your essence that quickly. Don't make this difficult. That quickly you return back to you. Voice it within yourself now. It's a type of, you could say cleansing, but it's actually returning to your essence. Next example. A very polluted river in New Jersey. It's a real river. It's had many, many years of abuse, chemicals, tied up gangster bodies, runoffs from farmlands. Wide variety of things have caused this river to get polluted. Now, jump into that river. Allow your Nhahyu to go to work. Dive in. You don't have to make it difficult. Just dive in. Jeez. And feel. Nhahyu is the consciousness, the feeling, and the sensitivity, awareness. Let it blossom. Yes, even in this dirty, polluted place, let it blossom. And now feel the energy. Get out of your mind. Nhahyu is a very natural thing, by the way. It's always been part of you. You're just working with it again. Totally feel the energy. Let it totally be absorbed into your consciousness. Let yourself experience the polluted river. Much better. Deep breath. Return to yourself. I am that I am. By the way, you'll never, ever, ever forget I am that I am. You could be diving into the deepest levels and the toughest levels of consciousness. You could be diving straight into the middle of an occult energy, in the middle of some seance or some ceremony they're doing. You can dive totally into that feeling and always return. Don't ever let anyone tell you that you're going to forget that simple phrase, I am that I am. It's always there. Always. You can dive in as deep as you want. Next example, London, drug addict, male, 32 years old, desperate. Dive into him, into his body, into his mind, into his consciousness. He won't know you're there. Trust me. Will not. Dive in. You're doing him no harm. Nhahyu, your feelings. It's interesting to note many of you went directly for his mind, which really isn't there. because you're still working with mind energy of your own, so like attracts like. Dive into his consciousness, his emotions. Yes, go into his emotions here. Dive in. Feel it, don't think it. Interesting, isn't it? Fascinating. We're like in an inner journey right now. We're in his consciousness, in his body, in his reality. Amazing. You see, you can be here. He doesn't know. You're not harming him in any way because there is no agenda. Total compassion here. Let him be a drug addict. Fascinating, isn't it? Feeling our way around. An amazing life story. Amazing desperation. Some of you have seen. You felt his spirit. Although that is very dark in here, you've seen that little pinpoint of light. His light within. Take a deep breath. Come back to I am that I am. Release. See how easy it is? Now, you still may have some sensations of his energy and memories of it, but it doesn't weave into you. You can feel what it was like to be in him, but his energy doesn't bind to you. You can remember what it was like, but it's not you. Amazing. Deep breath. Next example. Poor Kuthumi. Feel into Kuthumi's energy. He's very, very present with us today. He's our sad guest. Wondering why Shambhala have deceived him or have left him. Where is Shambhala? Now feel into all the layers of Kuthumi. He'll let you go right into his consciousness because he knows you can't mess with him. You can't change him. He is that he is. Dive into Kuthumi. I'd have to say this Nhahyu is what you would perhaps call the new psychic ability. I never liked the word psychic, but you relate to it, you understand it. I never much cared for psychics at all. But here's the ability to feel and perceive and be aware of things, to dive into them, to be a part of them and not worry about ever losing who you are. Nhahyu. Awareness. Take a deep breath. Come back to yourself. I am that I am. Now, some of you worry here that you're going to be out in the consciousness exploration, in Nhahyu, and that somebody's going to be playing little tricks on you, putting little, how would you call them, little hidden energy devices attached to you, so when you come back to you, that you've got these little bugs, so to speak, from them. This has happened to many of you in the past, but it was in an older time, in a very different consciousness, where you were playing games as well. So it enabled others, those who were dealing with the dark magic energies, to manipulate and play with you. But because you are not playing games anymore with other people, you're not manipulating, you cannot bring back any little viruses, consciousness viruses from anybody else. Take a deep breath. Here's a lovely one. a group of dolphins swimming off the coast in Hawaii, playing or following a boat of approximately 25 humans. They're playing. They love entertaining the humans up to a point. Feel the energies of the dolphins, the school. And a reminder here, in this example, to separate the difference between the dolphin consciousness and the humans that they're entertaining right now. Easy to get to drift off into both, but allow yourself now, your Nhahyu, to go into the dolphins. Dive deep. They're welcoming you. Probably noticing an interesting thing here is there is no right or wrong answer. Actually, in consciousness, there's very little, if any, judgment. There's discernment. There's the ability to detect different levels of feeling. Dive very deep in. If you're hearing their laughter, their chattering, very appropriate. They're used to this, by the way. That's how angelic beings first came to Earth. They let their consciousness go deep into the energy of the dolphins, the whales, and other oceanic animals. So they're very used to this. This is easy for them. Okay, wave goodbye to the dolphins. Come back. I am that I am. As pleasurable as that was, remember, always come back to you. I am that I am. Even if it was very joyful, you want to remember to come back to you. I am that I am. Next example. Dive very deep into this one. Might be a little bit confusing here, but that's part of the diving in, feeling the confusion. Financial crisis, United States, right now. Dive deep into it. Without fear. It's not going to affect you unless you want it to. Truly, it will not affect you unless you let it. So dive into it. What are those energies about? It is a consciousness right now. See, some of you are worried if you dive into it, you're going to bring it back into your life. Wrong. Old energy. Bad shambra. You don't have to bring it back. Feel it. Financial crisis. America. Go in with your Nhahyu, your feelings. See, don't try to manipulate it. Don't even try to understand it. Just feel it. Pretty messy. But feel all the levels now. Deep breath. Come back. I am that I am. Let that energy go. It's not yours unless you want it to be. Let it go. You see, isn't this amazing? And isn't it simple? Some of you get a little stuck here because you've been to all sorts of mystery schools, even mine in the past. You've taken all sorts of mind classes in this lifetime. Shame on you. You promised me you weren't going to do that. Taken all sorts of these classes that have truly messed with your mind. You forgot how simple it is. You forgot the essence of Nhahyu. The ability to be aware, to dive into anything, to feel into anything. Next example, mother just gave birth. We had to wait for this example, wait for her to finish that. Mother just gave birth in a hospital, Australia. Dive into the mother's feeling. And remember here, the consciousness of the mother and the new baby are very, very close. But just go to the mother's consciousness. You're not interfering with her. It's not going to affect her health. You're just feeling. You're the observer and the feeler. Dive deep in. Don't hold back. There's a wide variety of emotions right now that your mother has, a wide variety. Some of you are feeling her great joy, her connection with spirit, her marveling at this thing called life right now. Dive deep in. Some of you are also sensing her concern. You see, any person, any consciousness can have multiple levels at one time. Will she be a good mother? Will she have the money? Will she be a grandmother someday? Will her husband ever get a job? Dive deep in. Take a deep breath. Release. I am that I am. Come back to yourself. So you don't need to drag all of that back into you. It's not yours. Now, you can relate to some of her feelings. You can relate to some of any of the feelings we've had today. By the way, for those just tuning in, so sorry. Catch it later. I sent the message out. You didn't get it. Don't try to join in now. We're too far along. Listen to it later. Sorry. Now, I meant go away. Go away. We're too far along. Saint Germain, that's who I am. So you don't have to bring those feelings back with you. Away. Boy, they don't listen, do they? You don't have to bring those feelings back with you. You return back to you, your true feelings. And you should be advanced enough now in your own consciousness to start being able to tell what are your feelings and what is something else. Tobias is going to talk even more in depth about this in aspectology. Your feelings aren't even necessarily who you were when you were 10 years old or 20 years old or past lifetimes. Those actually are not you. They are just an aspect. So, you is you right now in this moment. What you are choosing, and only that is you. Anything else is a game. Anything else is not you. You want to return to the you? Remember who you are? It's as simple as I am that I am. Final example for the day. Feel deeply into it. Feel so deeply into it. Jesus on the cross, 2,000 and some odd years ago. Easter time frame. Good Friday specifically. Feel that energy. Don't hold back. It was real, by the way. What was going on? Dive in. He doesn't care. Let your Nhahyu blossom here. No matter how dark or how difficult the consciousness fields that you walk through, Allow yourself, the Nhahyu, the blessing of awareness. You see, sometimes it can actually bring you to tears or depression. That's true feeling when you can put your consciousness into something else and feel it so deeply that it moves you to tears or laughter. When it's no longer just a thought, no longer just a judgment, but you are participating in it. That is deep. That is Nhahyu. Take a deep breath. Return back, I am that I am. Return back to here. See, you can still remember, but you don't have to own those feelings. You return back to you, who you choose yourself to be. And by the way, you, who you choose to be, can be anything. You can be the greatest actor, creating the greatest aspects, such as I do. I love acting. I'm not always this pompous, just usually. I'm acting. I'm playing. I am enjoying. I am that I am. I'm so aware of myself that I can create all of these aspects and never worry about them deceiving me, turning on me, trying to take my soul, because I am that I am, you see. As you learn this miracle of Nhahyu, learn to embody yourself and your presence into anything, into any consciousness, as simply as choosing it and allowing yourself to go there, whether it happened 2,000 years ago, whether it's on the other side of the world. Allow yourself to dive into anyone, anything else. We're going to start truly understanding the grand artistic nature of humans and of divinity. You're going to understand now how you can create things for yourself very effortlessly, very easily. Have their energy, your choices serve you any way you choose. That, dear Shambha, is a master. Your homework, Tobias loves homework, and he asked me to give you some, is to create something this next month. Something that is tangible, something you create out of your imagination and then bring it into the material world. You can use popsicle sticks to create a little log cabin toy. You can create a song, a painting, anything, but create something from your imagination that is then brought through into this physical reality. Buy some clay. What do they call it here? Even that child stuff, the Play-Doh. Just take some crayons or whatever. Create anything, but something that you create from your imagination and bring it into this material, physical world. Write a poem. Do anything. Something creative. And then put your full consciousness into it. You're going to be creating it. Yes, it's you creating, but then let yourself go into it. Allow the expression of your Nhahyu, your energy, your essence, and your consciousness to flow into that creation. Let it flow effortlessly and easily. Create a piece of jewelry. Make it yourself, though. Then go into it. Let your consciousness go in and fully explore it and become part of it. And then watch what happens. Watch what happens. I want to highly encourage each one of you to do this homework. You generally ignore Tobias's homework. He knows it. I want to encourage you because we're going to pick up with this. Tobias will pick up with it in our next shout. In the meantime, continue to work with your Nhahyu, your consciousness. It can go anywhere into anything. And you can always bring yourself back to I am in this now moment. And I, indeed, am Adamus Saint Germain. And so it was.